Hi guys, Mrs. Kraus here. Hope all is well. I've missed everyone. Hope you had a great week. The last time we were together a couple weeks ago, we had went over 9 peer pressure refusal strategies to get you out of some tricky situations you might find yourself in. We know one of them was just to say no. If somebody asked you to skip school, just say no. We learned reversing the pressure. If you have a friend asking you to skip school, they're like, if you were my friend, you would skip school. You would just say, if you were my friend, you wouldn't ask me to skip school. We know broken record, repeating yourself several times. Let's skip this class. You guys are going to be in middle school next year. And you might have a friend say, let's skip class. And you're going to say, I don't skip class. They'll be like, come on, let's do this. I don't skip class. But everyone does it. I don't skip class. That's the broken record, peer pressure refusal strategy. We know make an excuse. I love that one as well. As you get older, you might be invited, and I use this example quite often with my kiddos. You might be invited to go to a party that you know parents won't be there. Maybe they won't be making the best choices or decisions. But you still want to look cool, I get it. So make a believable excuse. I can't go. I have a doctor's appointment. I can't go there. Okay, so boys and girls, today what we're going to talk about is something that you might be pressured to use, a drug you might be able to use, you might be pressured to use. But before we talk about that, what do you think a drug is? What do you think? A drug is something that if you're sick, two different ways. It's if you're sick, mom, dad, grandmom, auntie take you to the doctor, and the doctor writes you a prescription. We talked about prescription medications, and that drug makes you healthy. Then we have an illegal substance, the second type of drug, an illegal substance that somebody takes to make them what they think feel better. But it's not. Today we're going to talk about a drug that is illegal for somebody under the age of 21 to use. And I want you to think for a minute. What do you think that is? It's alcohol. There are 3 types of alcohol. You have beer, wine, and liquor. Okay. Somebody as you get older might say, and if it hasn't happened already, it will. I wish it wasn't true, but it will. Somebody as you get older might say, here, have a beer. It's only a beer. But a beer is a beer. It's alcohol. Your brain, everybody's brain, grows until your mid-20s, like around 25 years old. Alcohol use slows down the growth of your brain. Okay, so what we're going to learn today are many negative side effects because of alcohol use. We're going to learn also different parts of the brain that are affected by alcohol use. So that being said, I'm going to show you a picture of the brain. Pretty cool and nifty. And there it is right there. We have the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, the occipital lobe, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Look at that. And you see the lines from each of the areas of the brain pointing to that area of the brain. So all of these areas of the brain are affected by alcohol use. Okay, and what we're going to do now, boys and girls, is I'm going to read little definitions under each of the area of the brain, so you know. Okay, so the first one is frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe controls functions like decision making and judgment. So alcohol use certainly affects decision making and good judgment. That's a fact. Temporal lobe, that area of the brain, which is right there. That was the frontal lobe there. Now we have the temporal lobe pointing, wow, that's deep in the brain there. The temporal lobe controls speech and language. So a person's speech is affected by alcohol use. They call that slurred speech, and that's the inability to speak clearly. The third part is the hypothalamus, and if you can see that right there. See that right there? And that controls heart rate, right? So your heart is affected by alcohol use. The next one is the hippocampus, and that controls memory. Memory is affected by alcohol use. People who drink tend to not remember what happened. They have short-term memory loss. Okay. We have this one up here, the next area of the brain that's affected by alcohol use, and that is the occipital lobe. I always have my kiddos say the word occipital because I think it's really neat and nifty. So I'm going to give you a second to, on the count of 3, say occipital. 1, 2, 3. Occipital. Okay, occipital lobe controls vision. Okay, so your vision is affected by alcohol use. That's blurred vision, where you're not seeing clearly. Sort of like slurred speech, but blurred vision, right? Substitute the SL for BL. All right, the next one is the cerebellum, and this one right here controls your balance and coordination. Somebody that's drinking under the influence of alcohol, their balance and their coordination is affected. They're maybe not walking straight. Your coordination is how well your arms and your legs are moving when your brain tells them to do so. So look where that's pointing right there, into that area of the brain. Okay, and then we have the brain stem. Okay, the brain stem is going to be controlling your breathing. Okay, so breathing is affected. Somebody that's drinking alcohol tends to get exhausted, meaning they're very, very tired, and they tend to perhaps, maybe even possibly pass out. Okay, so these are the areas of the brain that are affected by alcohol use. Again, this brain is growing until you're around 25 years old. So we definitely want to not drink alcohol so we can allow this wonderful brain of yours to grow to be the healthiest, happiest brain it could possibly be. All right, boys and girls, the next part is the effects of alcohol use on each area of the brain. And I'm going to put that in there so you can see that. And I'm going to read each area of the brain and the effect of alcohol use has on that brain. As you can see, I, Mrs. Krause, have already took the liberty of drawing a line from each area of the brain to the effect that alcohol has on that area of the brain. So I want you to see that, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay, so number 1 area of the brain is the hippocampus. Okay, and the effect that alcohol use has on the area of the hippocampus is alcohol use can cause memory loss and affect a person's ability to learn. We talked about it. Memory loss is a negative side effect of alcohol use. Okay, the area of the brain, the temporal lobe. Okay, the effect of alcohol use on the old temporal lobe is alcohol use can impair a person's ability to speak clearly, causing slurred speech. Okay, slurred speech. Number 3, the frontal lobe. Okay, alcohol use affects the frontal lobe. It can impair a person's ability to think clearly and make good decisions. People that are under the influence of alcohol, underage drinking, most in particular, make bad choices, bad decisions. Okay, the next one, the cerebellum. Okay, so that one is alcohol use can slow down a person's reflexes, causing a loss of balance and coordination. We talked about it. Somebody that's drinking alcohol has a hard time walking straight. They have a hard time because their brain's telling their arms and legs what to do, and they're having a hard time coordinating it. The next one, the brain stem. Alcohol use can slow down a person's breathing, causing them to pass out. That's what's happening, and that's affecting the brainstem with alcohol use. We talked about it. Exhaustion, passing out. Occipital lobe, we talked about it. I love that you had repeated that for me. Vision. The vision is affected by alcohol use. And the old last one, number 7, hypothalamus. The alcohol use can slow down a person's heart rate, causing exhaustion. Again, you're so exhausted, you can just barely pass out. So we have memory loss, coordination is messed up, decision making is messed up, speech, vision, a lot of different things. The best thing to do when it comes to alcohol use is not use alcohol at all. We want you boys and girls to have your brain, again, grow to be the happy, healthy brain it can possibly be. And alcohol use will slow the growth of your brain. I'm going to give you one example, and this is pretty cool. It's a false truth, okay? But then we're going to have a fact. And I want you to put your listening ears on, if you would, please. Arnold thought he and his friends would have more fun playing video games if they drank alcohol. So Arnold pressured them to drink. The fact, alcohol use by Arnold would slow down breathing, causing them to feel lightheaded and possibly pass out. That's the fact. That's the fact. I have another one I'm going to share with you. Scenario number 2. Polly thought she and her friends would look smarter playing a board game if they drank alcohol. So Polly pressured them to drink. And I know we're all home now, so I know maybe you guys are playing board games with your families. I know I'd love to play Monopoly with my kids later, perhaps. That would be a good thing to do. The truth of the matter, Polly's not going to look smarter. The fact is alcohol would interfere with Polly's ability to keep up with the game or remember whose turn it is. Remember, memory loss. That's a negative side effect of alcohol use. Boys and girls, in a nutshell, the main thing is stay away from alcohol, okay? You guys are smart kiddos. Alcohol will definitely interfere with you reaching your goal. You guys set goals week 2. I want you to think for a minute how alcohol use would affect you reaching your goal, whether it's sports, whether it's getting great grades in school. How would alcohol use affect you reaching your goal? How would that do that? Best thing to do, boys and girls, just stay away from alcohol. Let your brain grow to be the happy, healthy brain it can be. I'll see you all next week, and you have a fabulous week. And again, I miss everyone. Have a great week.